Hey there, scary story fanatics. Welcome back to Cleaving Thought from Bone with your host, Sociopathic. Are you ready for some end-of-the-month feasting? Well, others that may be residing within you may take a little bit more than expected to satisfy. So, lock your doors and stay inside. Tonight, I take you on a night out for adventure and ensuing mayhem. Man infestation.
I've never been a big believer in the supernatural. I'm not into horror shows and creepy tales of creatures of the dark. However, my fiancé is. We live in a little one-bedroom apartment in the city, right off the main strip. Now, I don't really like to do much on the weekends. I mostly like to hang out and play video games and watch action flicks. She's the one always pushing me to go camping and explore creepy places. Granted, most of the time, once I'd gotten myself out of the house and into the full swing of the activity that we were engaged in, I began to enjoy myself. But it did take those first few challenging steps of getting me out of the house. One Friday, after taking the bus home from work, as Samantha used the car, I was greeted to my beloved in the entranceway of our apartment as I wrestled with the boots strapped to my feet. She told me she wanted to do something with me that weekend, that very night, in fact. I let out a sigh. "What do you have in mind?" I asked her sarcastically with a smile. I had just suffered a recent tragedy in the family. My mother had passed away only a week before. I hadn't really been doing anything but moping around the living room on the weekends, so I think she wanted to help me escape a little, via a little excitement and fun. Samantha proceeded to inform me of an abandoned cemetery that existed in the dense forest on the city's edge. I'd actually heard of this place before. Apparently, deep in the woods on the outskirts of the suburbs, resided an abandoned cemetery whose headstones were so overgrown with brush that it could only be located by the large stone mausoleum that still stood erected in the center of the stones, encompassed by dense vegetation and partially hidden by the thick trunks of old trees. She had been told multiple times by many of our friends, some of them skeptics like me, to stay away from the place because of its association with actual demonic occurrences. Honestly, I didn't really want to go because the forest it resided within was restricted access, entry prohibited by police. Of course, this was the reason she wanted to go at night. I protested at first, but she does what she always does and knows what to do and threaten me with. Sparing the details, she had me cornered, and I had to agree to accompany her. She would have likely gone without me anyway if I stood firm, but for one, she would have made good on her threats, and two, she would have gone alone, and that wasn't safe. After dinner and night had fallen, she began to get ready, and I hesitantly followed her lead. As I grabbed my coat, keys, and MacLeod, Samantha walked towards the front door and me, presenting me with a necklace with some odd pendant attached. "What's this for?" I asked her. She told me to wear it for protection. I laughed out loud and asked her if she was serious, but she insisted that it would protect me and started to threaten me again. I assured her I would put it on and took it from her hand. She walked out the door before me, and I placed the charm in my side coat pocket, shutting the door behind me, and I followed her to the car. I wish I would have paid attention to the tiny clink noise when I shut the door on the porch. Samantha is the one who does the driving, so I climbed into the passenger seat, buckled in, and shut the door. The place where we would park the car was about a half an hour away, so I pulled the joint I had rolled from the breast pocket of my jacket and sparked it for Samantha and I. The city streets were relatively vacant, considering typical traffic, so the two of us enjoyed the drive there as much as we hoped to enjoy the rest of the night. The joint was long gone by the time we had pulled into place, but our buzzes were still going strong. Paranoid, the two of us climbed from the car, shut the doors, and waited for the traffic to die down in the isolated area on the outskirts before we would cross the road, negating any chance that a cop would see us enter the forest on the other side. As soon as we both felt the coast was clear enough, the two of us made a dash across the road and into the woods. The road out of sight behind us, the excitement of exploring the area at night began to set in. Everyone I knew had warned us to stay away from this place, and now, in the dead of night, we were searching for it. I didn't believe that anything irrational would occur, but the intensity of the moment made my heart race with anticipation. About a half-mile in, Samantha spotted something with her flashlight. There, in the distance of the inky black within the forest, jutted the corner of an old stone structure from behind a few thick trees. She had found it. As we approached it, I shone my flashlight around me in the dark, visually uncovering scattered headstones, all encompassed with forest life. The place was eerie, but almost mystical in a way at the same time. I lifted my gaze as we rounded the trees and seen that the rumors of the mausoleum's door being open were true. In fact, the door was ripped completely off the hinges. And that's why the place is off limits, I thought to myself, mentally blaming teenage miscreants for vandalism. I stepped into the building behind Samantha. Although some may have expected it, there were no scattered bones or piled corpses on the floor, nor did the walls bleed. It was just a vacant, musty, creepy-ass tomb. She began reading the various names inscribed upon the walls within. I took my second step into the building before a strong wind rushed through the forest, the breeze biting in the cold. Samantha covered her face with her hands, turned and looked at me, and asked what that smell was, gagging behind her sleeve. I honestly didn't smell anything. I reminded her that we were in an old mausoleum, within an abandoned cemetery, and that odd, offensive smells could be from the obvious. She insisted that it wasn't the smell of death, more like eggs, but I honestly couldn't smell anything. After uncovering her face, Samantha lifted her digital camera up to her face and began snapping pictures. The mausoleum flashed into spurts of what seemed like daylight before instantly blinking back into darkness. Within the brief moments of revealing light, I thought I saw something in the corner. A mass of shadow that didn't seem to brighten in the flash. But as I investigated closer, I saw that there was nothing there. I reached into my left jacket pocket, fumbling around for the small, slender object. Finding it, I asked Samantha if she wanted to smoke another joint with me in this creepy place. Most probably would have questioned lingering inside after seeing something slightly unsettling and surrounded by drawers filled with residing corpses, but being the skeptic that I am, I pushed all unhinging notions aside without conscious thought. After getting her to agree, I began to fill the space with a thick, sweet smoke. While passing the lefty back and forth, I stole Sam's camera from her hand and began looking through the pictures that she had taken. I skipped out on the rest of the joint as I began to examine the shadow in the corner that I had investigated earlier. There may have been nothing in the corner in reality, but the camera's still frame sure made it seem as if there was. The photograph clearly depicted a man-sized, slender-limbed humanoid positioned in the corner amongst the shadows. Framed within a black splotch that appeared to be a head was what looked like a signifying set of upper teeth. I deleted the picture before I took the roach from Samantha and exchanged it with her for the camera, giving it back. Although I figured it was just a trick of a poorly taken shot, I knew Sam, sensitive as she was, would have panicked if she had taken a good look at that picture. As she finished looking at the rest of the benign pictures she had taken, I persuaded her that it was getting late and that we should start heading back. Aside from an ever-increasing invading wind, the walk back to the car went unobstructed. However, when we arrived, I began to think that I may have been coming down with something, because as I climbed into the car and sat down, I began to feel dizzy and nauseous. My assumptions were only supported when my dinner from earlier demanded an exit only 5 miles down the road. I tried to contain myself, but I had to ask Samantha to pull over. She started asking what was wrong when I opened up the door, but I only replied by retching up my supper and vomiting on the pavement outside the door. My fiancé rubbed my back, trying to relax me as my stomach convulsed. When I had finished, the nausea had gone, but an intense belly pain remained. Grimacing with sharp agony, I shut the door and motioned for my beloved to continue driving. She started inquiring about my status, but I reassured her that I was fine. I closed my eyes, trying to ignore the pain as she pulled from the side of the road. Samantha was commenting on the stars shining brightly in the sky, something unable to be viewed in the heart of the city. I opened my eyes to take in a look as well, and when I did, I couldn't move my terrified eyes off the monstrous creature on the side of the road, only a few feet from the car. I gasped in terror, holding back my screams. It was only there for an instant, for when I blinked, it seemed to have disappeared. An instant, however, was all I needed. I thought I saw some kind of blackened humanoid standing near the edge of the black street. It appeared to have no eyes, a severe overbite, and dark, veiny flesh that seemed to glisten in the moonlight. But as I said, I blinked, and it was gone. Samantha noticed my reaction in the seat beside her, and I told her that it was the result of the stomach pain. Samantha's mothering instincts surfaced as she repeatedly told me to just lay back and get some rest, focused only on getting me home and helping me get into bed, thinking rest would help. The pain in my belly was so intense, I barely remember the drive there and getting out of the car. It was after I crossed the entrance of the front door, Samantha behind me, that I snapped back to reality. From behind me, on the porch, I heard Samantha ask me what this was, as if I knew what it was she was talking about. I turned to take a glance at what it was that she spoke of, and as I did, I saw the charm that she had given me in her hand, the necklace that had fallen from my coat pocket when I shut the porch door. Samantha immediately started scolding me for not bringing it with me, telling me that I was likely sick due to some supernatural force. I probably would have just shrugged it off anyway, but in as much pain as I was, I just wanted to lay down. Demonic or not, I really didn't care. I just wanted to get some sleep. I felt so freaking lousy. Irritated with me and lecturing me the whole time, Samantha helped me to get into our bed. She left me only to make me a cup of tea, but I was long asleep by the time she returned. I had the most terrible dreams that night. I was locked in some type of basement or subterranean system, full of doorways and tunnels, all leading to more rooms with stone walls and floors. Besides the occasional scattered rubble, the area was vacant. Despite this, however, I couldn't shake the feeling of panic, like I had to get away from something unseen. It was when I felt a burning skeleton-like grip on my shoulder that I awoke. I had apparently been screaming and crying in my sleep, Samantha had been trying to awaken me, but was unsuccessful for a while. It was when I shot into a sitting position, covered in sweat and speaking in tongues, that she decided to take me to the hospital. Due to my psychotic state, she was forced to call an ambulance. I opened my eyes to the beeping of monitors and fluorescent lighting above. I saw the concerned smiling face of my Samantha above me. I tried to sit up, but as I did, my movement was halted by a sharp pain in my side. Samantha implored me not to move, telling me I had just gotten out of surgery. Surgery? I asked, a little shocked and scared. Samantha's words fell silent when the doctor entered the room and explained to me what had happened. He told me the reason I had been so sick and in so much pain was because I had a massive tumor growing inside of me. When he showed me the pictures of the eyeless, glossy, blackened mass with an overbite that he had removed from me, I immediately recognized it as the thing from the side of the road, like some kind of parasitic manifestation. Something had tried being born through my body.
Well, if Thanksgiving and the candy of days past don't fill you up, a hideous monster just might. And if you don't have room left for any more half-developed fiends, avoid loneliness by stopping by again here next weekend. And until then, remember to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can catch you all again next Saturday.